Florida is one of the most biodiverse states in America, but there's a threat to this natural balance. New animals, ones from far away, have managed to upset the established order. They are invasive species, and they threaten the livelihood of Florida's ecosystems. An invasive species is one that is introduced to a new ecosystem by human activity. Unlike non-native species, invasive species damage their new environment.
Many times, tiny animals such as insects and frogs easily come into the U.S. unseen on plants from other countries. Larger animals such as Burmese pythons and iguanas, they typically end up being bought as pets. When they get too big and their owners decide that they can't keep them any longer, they are released.
They look like prehistoric creatures.
Sees this. Iguanas roaming just several feet from him.
100 just here, little ones. They're all about the same size. The big one, he's the big boss, and he's in that tree there. He's there all the time.
Wildlife expert David Hitzig says residents have been calling him about the very same thing. He says one reason we're seeing more iguanas, they thrive as long as the weather stays warm.
Really is not a whole lot that's preying on them. When they're smaller, they might be easier prey for raccoons and foxes and things like that. When they get a little bit bigger, most animals don't want to mess with them, and the iguanas are pretty fast.
Cuban tree frogs are considered invasive in Florida because they are likely to harm our native ecosystem and cause a lot of problems for humans. Cuban tree frogs eat at least 5 different species of native frogs, not to mention the occasional lizard or small snake. And their tadpoles compete with native tadpoles for space and food. Cuban tree frogs are common in urban areas where they hang out near lights, on the walls of houses, and catch insects. They often poop on walls and windows, leaving stains, take over birdhouses, and lay eggs in fish ponds and bird baths. Sometimes Cuban tree frogs can even find their way into homes, hanging out in toilets and clogging sink drains. Cuban tree frogs grow very large and are known to cause costly power outages by short-circuiting utility switches. Cane toads aren't just a threat to the local ecosystem. These large amphibians use their stout stature to outcompete and outright eat smaller native species. These toads are far more toxic than the native southern and oak toads. They even pack a poison that can kill or seriously sicken pets. Alligators used to be the top predator in the Everglades. That is, until the Burmese python came along in the late 20th century.
Burmese pythons, giant constrictors native to Asia, became a nuisance in Florida after 1992. Hurricane Andrew toppled a reptile breeding facility, and all its pythons slithered into the wild. Female Burmese can lay dozens of eggs at a time, and by one estimate, 100,000 Burmese live in the Everglades today. Some can grow longer than 20 feet. And here, this invasive species has no natural predator.
And when you capture a snake, anything under 4 feet is $50, and then it's $25 a foot as it goes up.
Hunters have trapped roughly 100 snakes already, some of them huge. Patrick Campbell's catch measured 15 feet, 10 inches. Leo Sanchez and Nicolas Banos nabbed this 15-footer. It weighed 144 pounds.
An article by the National Wildlife Federation states that invasive species are among the leading threats to native wildlife. Approximately 42% of the threatened or endangered species are at risk due to invasive species. Human health and economies are also at risk from invasive species.
It's Exotic Pet Amnesty Day, and Pet Amnesty Day is an opportunity for people to surrender pets that they may no longer be able to keep that are exotics. It gives them the opportunity to turn them in with no questions asked.
Since its inception in 2006, the Amnesty Program has received over 3,000 non-native animals. Unique pets, animals from all over the world, are surrendered.